Web Marketing That Works podcast, episode 140, with today's guest, same as last show, Greg Kasser.
Welcome to the Web Marketing That Works podcast. Come behind the scenes of real-life marketing experiments and listen in as amazing guests confess the truth about what really works. Now, here are your hosts, Adam Franklin and Toby Jenkins.
Hi folks, it's Adam Franklin here, and welcome to the Web Marketing That Works podcast. This is the show for people who love marketing on the web, where we take you behind the scenes of real-life marketing experiments. We look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. We confess what fails and reveal the truth about what really works. This is part 2 of a 2-part series with Greg Kasser, and I'll introduce you to him shortly. But before that, just know that this show is brought to you by our book, which is called Web Marketing That Works as well. And there's a gift for listening to the show, and that is the bonus 33 marketing templates, which are actually from the book, but you don't need to even get the book yet to get your hands on those. Just go to bluewiremedia.com.au/book, download them, and there will also be a series of training videos after you've downloaded them to help teach you how to use some of them. So there you go, that's a gift for listening. Now we've got part 2 of the 2-part series with Greg Kasser. If you listen to the last show, episode 139, you'll know about Greg. If not, head back and listen to it, or know that Greg Kasser is an awesome digital marketing strategist. I've had the pleasure of being on a couple of road shows with him, and he runs a organization called The Collective, which is a advanced mastermind where he teaches his clients all about all the different online marketing strategies, and he has a done with you service. So he's been doing some fantastic stuff and has taught me a lot over the years as well, which is why this is actually his 3rd appearance on the podcast. He was back on episode 94 and of course 139. This is episode 140. And in this one, we're going to finish off the tips for a successful e-commerce store, and then we're going to dive into his profit triad and how that applies to e-commerce. So with that introduction, let's head over to the show with Greg Kasser. It's Adam Franklin here, and joined on the line again by Greg Kasser. How are you?
Hey, Adam. All's good, thank you.
That's good. Okay, so on the last show, you were talking us through the recipe for a successful e-commerce business. We covered the first 8 steps. Could you maybe quickly recap those, and then we'll push on to the other ingredients for a successful e-commerce business?
Absolutely. And so if you're listening and you haven't heard the previous episode, I'd definitely recommend go back to that because it'll make this one make more sense. But as requested, let's go over the first 8. So the first one was about having product range for repeat purchases. Number 2 was to make sure that the audience is searching for the product that you're or the service that you're offering. Number 3 was to make sure that the audience can be targeted on Facebook. Number 4 was to get an average product greater than or equal to $50. Number 5 was cost-effective shipping wherever possible. Number 6 was good multi-supplier supply chain, so you never left high and dry, like the Center Suit world. Number 7 was 50% plus on cost of goods sold, meaning that you're buying well and you can double or more your money. And number 8 was that Google and Facebook like it.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so moving forward, what else do we need?
Cool. So we also want to think about the actual product and how it's used. And really what we want is good, low refund products. With this, I think I've got a 13-year-old girl and I've got an 11-year-old boy and an 8-year-old boy. And every time they've got money, they go to like Kmart or Target or wherever and they buy themselves a radio-controlled helicopter. Okay, so the average lifespan of a radio-controlled helicopter in the hands of an 8-year-old boy is in between 17 and 23 minutes. You know, it doesn't last long. And then he smashed it into a wall and he wants to put it back in the box and return it sort of thing. So you don't want to be selling radio-controlled helicopters to 8-year-old boys. So you want good low refund products so that you're not constantly handling refunds and changes. I do see sometimes with like women's fashion and that kind of stuff, sometimes those things get a lot of refunds or swaps and that kind of stuff. So even with sizing, if you're doing sizing on your products, just make sure that it's really, really obvious so that people aren't ordering. Because we did a production run from China, and when our products came in, they were manufactured, their sizing, they were all kind of big. So it was going to result in that, people saying, well, it doesn't fit me. Can you send me the next size down? And that kind of stuff. It just basically clogs you up. Yeah, it slows you down. So yeah, good low refund products is number 9. Okay, number 10 is it has to be a passionate market, or they must have it. So ideally, they really, really want it. If you look at, I think ClickBank, they released some data recently, and one of the things that they were saying was the most passionate area, the best area to sell info products in this example was sporting niches, because people, they really followed their team and they really must have it, or they were a passionate market. Yeah, I think that's a great thing to think about. So that's why sometimes selling to niches is better than just selling commodity stuff. But the must have it, so that's passionate market, or must have it can be good. So say, for example, the iPhone case, they've got an iPhone, they do need a case, that kind of stuff. So yeah, just make sure that it fits one of those. The next one we've got here, number 11, is it's got to be a growing industry. So I would say now would be a bad time to be getting into the DVD sales business, as an example, because Netflix is going to kick your butt, so to speak. So you definitely really want to think about the life cycle of the industry that you're going into and really be in a growing industry if possible. Okay, and the 12th one we've got here is the ability to upsell. We'll cover this more in the profit triad stuff that we're going to go into next. But within e-commerce, or really with any sort of business, if you can get your average transaction value higher, it means that you'll be able to spend more to acquire a customer, that kind of thing. So you really want to be thinking about, if I'm going to be going to all this effort of setting up an e-commerce business, if I sell them something, is there something else logical that they would want to buy with it that would also create value for them, so that you can get your average order value up? This is similar to what we covered before with number 1, like the product range for repeat purchases. They're related, but you definitely want to have the ability to do the upsells. And there's a couple smart ways of doing that we can talk about as well. So Adam, for you, any questions on those 4 before we move into the last 4?
No, mate, that's great. I'm looking forward to talking more about the upsells further down the track. Let's finish off with the last 4.
Okay, cool. So then number 13 is that, and this is ideal, but it doesn't have to be there, but that a product is consumed or reordered. And I think a great example of this is, so say, for example, you're selling face or beauty cream or something like that to an affluent female consumer, where they put it on, use it, and then they need to reorder. That's ideal. Where you'll notice that I want to avoid this one-shot marketing. We really want to get perpetual motion. We really want them to be buying again. So that's obviously ideal if you can get that happening. Number 14 is an interesting subject matter to do content amplification on. So there's a very big trend in the e-commerce world where content and commerce are merging. Okay, so because what's happening is the cost of traffic is continuing to rise, and really those who aggregate the most eyeballs are really going to win. So the big authority blogs are actually in the very most powerful position. What's happening is they are partnering with big e-commerce stores, and together, because one has the great way of monetizing, the other one has the great content and the eyeballs, and together they make a very, very powerful, it's like a 1 + 1 = 3 type of thing. So you want to be able to put interesting content out and then use things like Facebook ads and stuff to amplify content to get more people, your message in front of more people, and then ultimately more people back to your store into buying. We write sales copy and work in all sorts of niches. I think this isn't an e-commerce example, but the worst niche that I've ever had to write sales copy about was sewage treatment plant. That was and all the chemicals and what it does and all that kind of stuff. That was really, testing my skills, that one. But yeah, so interesting subject matter that you can content amplify. Okay, and then number 15 is the market has to have money and they have to be motivated to spend it. Okay, so I think the worst market I've worked in, this wasn't an e-commerce market, but it was I come off stage one day and this guy came up and said to me that he was basically, could I help him with his ebook? And I was like, maybe, but it's probably not necessarily what I do, but what are you thinking? And he told me that he was in the procrastinator market. And but what was funny was the kicker was that he hadn't actually even finished his ebook yet, but it was close, Adam. It was close, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I said to him, okay, a couple of problems here. One, the price point of your product is too low, that kind of thing. But with the market that you're aiming for, they're unlikely to be searching for how to solve that problem. And then if they do find you, they're unlikely to buy it. And then if they actually do go to the effort of buying it, they're unlikely to do anything about it, sort of thing. So then they may have money, but they're certainly not motivated, to spend it, that kind of thing. I also see this where people mix their charity and their business up, and they can be, not a good mix. I think it's definitely better to make money with business and then do your charitable stuff afterwards, that kind of thing, rather than having a business that's a charity. I met this sales guy in the US, Ryan, I can't remember his surname, Stewman, I think it is, yeah. And he has this saying of kangaroos. He says you want to avoid kangaroos. And kangaroos have little short arms, and so they can reach into their pouches to grab out free stuff, but their arms aren't long enough to reach around the back to grab their wallet out of their pocket. So we want to avoid kangaroos at all costs. Yeah, so that's number 15. And number 16 really is about the mindset of the founder. So making sure that you as the founder, you have an abundance mindset and a can-do attitude, because it's not always going to be smooth sailing. And when there's problems, you just got to be able to pick yourself up and keep going. But what I just told you there, like if you're going into an e-commerce business, to know that and to be able to tick off those 16 things. If you've only got 11 or 12 of them, one of the most important things in business is the word next. So that's a next, it's not worth running with. You've really got to have pretty much all of those things or most of those things for it to be one that you can just smash out of the park. Because one of the things that I've learned recently is you can do the exact same marketing effort, right? But just changing it to a different vehicle, you can get a completely different result. So a different business vehicle can get a completely different result. So the quality of your business vehicle or the quality of your e-commerce store, product, services, and niche, really, really matters. So that's like the 16 things we think of in the recipe for the perfect e-commerce store.
That's awesome, Greg. Now, you've touched on the profit triad. Maybe we could talk about that now.
Yeah, happy to. So the profit triad, this is really about building a more profitable business. So we don't want to just focus on getting customers like what everyone does. So profit triad is really talking about 3 areas of your business or 3 levers in your business that can really multiply together. So like a 1 + 1 = 3 sort of thing, but this is like a 1 + 1 + 1 = 6 type thing. All the numbers multiply together. So with the profit triad, we want to focus in 3 areas. The first thing is we want to focus on how do we get more customers. The second area is how do we get them spending more? And then the third area is how do we get them buying again? Because if you're focusing in all those 3 areas, you're going to definitely outcompete someone who's just focused on, we got to get the next customer, that kind of thing. So that's basically what we think of as the profit triad.
Okay, great. So maybe let's dive into the first one, getting more clients.
Okay, cool. So there's multiple ways of getting more customers. Let's just cover a couple of them. One of the first things that we do with getting more customers, really with any e-commerce business, generally is start with the store. Because if you think about it, everyone wants more traffic. And I'm sure you would have heard this as well, Adam. Like, if I could just get more traffic, that'd solve my problems. Yeah, you can double your business by getting more traffic, but it's the most expensive way of doing it. If you can get your conversion rate up first, then when you get more traffic, it's going to be more efficient. You're going to get more bang for your buck, that kind of thing. So one of the big things is to optimize the store, optimize the e-commerce store. So is the theme responsive? Does it adjust from the size of the device that they're on? Does it have a really good homepage design, header design, category page design, product page design, all that kind of stuff? And one of the things that we found as well is the more you optimize towards the end of the checkout, the bigger the result. So we were working with a client in the music industry recently selling music stuff, and they had a really inefficient checkout, and we just changed the checkout process and doubled the conversion rate of the e-commerce store, which obviously had a massive effect on the business. And that was all done within sort of the first week of us working with them, just by knowing where to focus and knowing to change that design. So that can make a massive difference. Focus on design first.
So does that include things like cart abandonment as well, Greg?
So it's good that you're talking about cart abandonment, and it's an exciting area because it's just such a big opportunity. what we see is like as much as 1 in 2 people abandon shopping carts for whatever reason. They got busy, they got scared, whatever. So what Adam's talking about here is adding cart abandonment sequences. So say, for example, they abandon the cart, then they might get an email saying, hey, was there a problem? Or then they might get another email saying, hey, come back, here's a discount. And then there'd be final emails like scarcity and urgency of saying that it's about to expire and really trying to get them back. And if you do a good job on that, you can recover 10 to 20% of those carts. So it makes a massive, massive difference. There's other things you can do to increase your conversion rate, like adding online chat, is another good one. What we found is 1 in 3 chatters ends up as buyers, which is incredible. And an advanced strategy you can do as well is to give them voucher codes saying like, hey, yeah, thanks for that, Adam. And then to help you out today, here's a 10% voucher code to use and help them on their way, that kind of thing. Or another really advanced strategy with that is trying to take them from chat to the phone saying, hey, yeah, answer their question, but saying, so I can help you best, is there a number I can call you on? And obviously the more you can get online to offline, like to the phone, that really, really can work well.
Oh, that's a really cool tip, because I've noticed I put a chat box on my cart page recently.
Yes.
It was called Zopim, which is really good. And I was always a bit concerned about having live chat on a website because I thought I'd have to be just in front of my computer all day waiting for people to visit the page. But in actual fact, it just, for this particular product and most, it comes through to your phone. So you can just be out and about and a message will come through of someone on your website and you can actually have a conversation with them then. And another thing that I found pretty useful too is actually putting a contact phone number on the checkout page too, because then
good.
Very few people actually call it or message you, but if they do, they're ready to spend money. And even the people that don't call it, they can see that you're accessible and that there's a way for them to get in touch should they need to. And I found that as a really effective technique as well.
Yeah, that's very, very smart. I wrote down that Zopim, getting that chat to your phone. I think that's clever too. Yeah, so this focus on getting more customers, really the other areas once you've optimized the cart and the site is then really focusing on traffic and what's cost-effective traffic is like a whole talk all in itself. But there's some big hitters such as Google Shopping is amazing. So Google Shopping is when, say, for example, you search for buy roof racks and then it shows up pictures of roof racks at the top of Google and it's got links there with the name of the product and the price and that kind of thing. That often Google Shopping accounts for sometimes as much as 50% of sales for a lot of e-commerce stores. You can add Google AdWords, which are those ads at the top of Google. And then you've got remarketing. So remarketing, assuming a lot of your audience knows what it is, Adam, but I'll just recap for some who don't. So remarketing is talking about if they hit your website or your e-commerce store in this case, and then they didn't necessarily buy, and then you can follow them around the web, whether it's banners or on Facebook with either branding messaging, or in e-commerce, there's also a thing called dynamic remarketing where you can show them ads for the exact product that they were just looking at as they navigate around the web, which is, really, really cool. And there's Facebook remarketing and all that kind of stuff. And then once you've got all these sort of things dialed in, another way of getting more customers is then just to expand onto more platforms. So getting onto eBay and getting onto Amazon and those sorts of things. So they're kind of like that's a really, really fast way of saying they're the main ways that we get more customers for e-commerce stores, which is the first part of our profit triad.
Okay, so part 2 is getting them spending more. Let's talk about that.
Cool, yeah. So there's multiple ways of getting them spending more, and this is really about making the whole thing more profitable. So this is a really, really important area, and I don't think a lot of people give it enough focus. The first and most obvious really is upselling, and we spoke a little bit about that before, Adam. And so we've tested all different types of upsells on e-commerce stores. One of the ones that works the best is on-page, what we call ad customization upsells. So, for example, we're working with a guy who's doing clotheslines and selling clotheslines. And then, say, for example, you're checking out and the clothesline's $250, but then there's a little drop down on that page saying, hey, would you like to add an installation and get it installed another 100, that kind of thing. So you're increasing the order value on the page just with little drop downs. Do you want to add this? Do you want to add that? And it increases the price. So that sort of upsell works great. Another one which is really, really smart is post-purchase upsells and what we call one-click upsells, because the problem with a standard e-commerce model is as you add more and more things to the cart, when they get to the checkout, they go, damn, I wasn't really thinking about spending that much. I'll leave it. I won't do it now because I'll get in trouble with the hubby or get in trouble with the missus or whatever it is. They didn't want to spend that much money. So one-click upsell is great because as soon as they add something to their cart, you try and get them to go check out straight away. And then before they get to the thank you page, you have a one-click upsell page which says, hey, would you like to add this to your order? This complements it. Like the other day I bought a torch and they were saying, do you want to grab the matching rechargeable batteries? It's only normally $60, now only $32. And you could go yes or no. And if I said yes, it straight away added it to my order. So this has been available in marketing funnels, and now it's available in some e-commerce platforms if you have the right apps and stuff. So one-click upsells is just incredible. So upsells is a massive, massive area. You can significantly grow your business by like 20, 30, 40% just by getting that whole upsells bit, working right. And then can also be downsells as well. So if they didn't take your upsell, then saying, hey, do you want to grab the cheaper one? Or do you want to only grab one rechargeable battery or whatever it is? Another one to think about, Adam, is bundles. So for example, here, like in the snake repeller market, rather than just selling one snake repeller, we might sell a bundle of 4 snake repellers. So obviously they're getting a better coverage for their property and they're giving them what they really need, but you're increasing your average order value as well, which really, really makes a massive difference. So there's multiple ways of doing it, but bundles and upsells, downsells, they're kind of the things that will really help with getting customers spending more in a systematic way.
Okay, cool. And finally, the third part is getting customers to buy more frequently. Is that probably the easiest or the most leveraged part of this profit triad?
Yeah, if you know email marketing and you know a bit of Facebook advertising, then it's definitely the most highest return on investment. The reason why is because, like what we spoke about before, when you're acquiring the customer, that's the most expensive time. So using tools like autoresponders and Facebook advertising or even just email broadcasts to be able to do things like email campaigns and promotions is, I learned this saying from Dale Beaumont, actually, your cash flow is determined by your calendar. So one of the great tools for getting your customers buying again is just to come up with a great marketing calendar. So are you going to do a Valentine's Day sale in February? Are you going to do a Mother's Day sale in May? That kind of thing, a winter sale in June, that kind of thing. So mapping out your whole, what are the different months in the calendar, and then what's marketing promo that you're going to have, for each of those. So that's an excellent way of just email broadcasts or automated follow-ups. So automated follow-ups is really about, if they bought this, then what's the nurture sequence we're going to give them afterwards? So what are automated emails? And then with really, really smart modern e-commerce tools, now you can say, if they bought this and they haven't bought that, now kick them off into this second campaign, which tries to sell them the related thing. You bought the face cream. Now, hey, you want to grab the hand cream that complements it, that kind of thing, and do them a special on that. So that's the more you have in this post-sale nurture and cross-sell, really the more profitable the business is going to be. I see so many businesses that the average business I see, there's less than 3 emails, in their follow-up sequence. And so obviously if you can change that to 20 or 30 or 40 or whatever, that's really, really going to do well. Another one which is actually really, really smart, Adam, is a win-back campaign. So one of the things that's been found in e-commerce is if people buy from you and then they don't buy from you again for, say, 60 days or more, then chances are they're not going to come back. So you may be able to do a win-back campaign where your autoresponder wakes up and it says, you know what, this person bought from me 60 days ago, but they haven't bought since. Let's kick them off an automated email. Okay, here's 10% off offer on this. And then you might send them another email saying it's your last chance to get 10%. If they still didn't buy, then you might wait a week and then send them, hey, here's a free plus shipping offer, or here's a free shipping offer, or something like what's just another different offer. And if they still haven't bought, then you might send them another one. Hey, this 15% off offer. This is the last time you're going to hear from us, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's definitely a great way of re-engaging customers. And sometimes we say, give them vouchers that they can share with their friends, because it's really, really smart if we can turn one customer into multiple, that kind of thing. So that's different things that we do in that win-back campaigns. We also do remarketing and dynamic remarketing, what we spoke about before. So following them around the web with banners and all that kind of stuff. So that all is really very, very clever ways of systematically getting your customers buying again. But I think what you can see is there's a lot to it, and we've covered it really, really fast over these 2 episodes. But the whole profit triad, it's really about allowing you to architect a perfect storm. If you know this stuff, or you're working with someone who does know this stuff, you can get a dramatically different result to the average person who runs up a basic store and sticks a product on and then hopes and prays. I'm not a big believer in hope and pray marketing. I'm a big believer in architecting the result that you want, and that's starting with the end in mind and then architecting the perfect business to make that happen.
I'm totally with you there. Hope's not a very good marketing strategy at all. Hey, you're just going a little bit fuzzy there, Greg, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for sharing all those tips with us. Head to thecollective.com.au and there's a lot more information on the blog there. Greg, thank you so much. And that's a wrap for my chat with Greg Kasser. Awesome stuff there with his tips for an e-commerce store. Whether you sell digital products or physical products, it's certainly well worth your while. Getting the cart, getting all those factors built into it that Greg covered in today's show. And then interesting, his profit triad. Get more customers, get them spending more and get them buying more frequently. And all the tips and techniques for doing that. Very useful stuff there. So I hope you enjoyed that double header, the two shows from Greg. He's a smart man, he's a funny man, and I don't know if my show on his podcast is live yet, but if you go to the Sales for Profit podcast by Greg Kasser and John Dwyer, then we have a bit of a chat about different stuff entirely. I talked to him about some social media techniques. So check that show out over on the Sales for Profit podcast as well. I hope you found that podcast interesting and actionable. That's certainly our intent with these shows. I'm open to feedback and questions and guest suggestions and topics and everything else. So if you've got anything along those lines you'd like to share with me, my email is adam.franklin@bluewiremedia.com.au. Drop me a line and let us know what you'd like to hear about, and I will try and factor that into the recording schedule. And finally, if you enjoyed the show, and I hope you did, I would love it if you could leave us a review and ratings on iTunes or Stitcher. It really does help our visibility and help us attract more guests like Greg Kasser onto the show. Okay, I look forward to seeing you on the next show. See you later.